Welcome to the We Are VIP podcast. Each week, your host, Casey Hasten, Director of Recruiting at VIP, will bring you valuable insights from thought leaders, introduce you to incredible companies, and bring you tips for landing your dream job from our team of executive recruiters at VIP.
Welcome to the We Are VIP podcast, a podcast devoted to adding value to your candidate or career search, brought to you by VIP. I'm your host, Casey Hasten. I'm an executive recruiter, director of recruiting with VIP, and your all-around hiring guru. And today, I have brought you the three gentlemen that have made all this possible. So I want to introduce to you Mike Haynes, Jess Padek, and Eric Foerster. The three of them started the company 11 years ago as a direct hire executive search firm, servicing small privately owned companies to Fortune 500 companies. As the company grew and our clients' needs expanded, they added contract to hire staffing to enhance the company's ability to provide excellent customer service, which I can attest that we do. In 2017, we also added a project management consulting division, enabling the company to be the go-to one-stop shop for our clients. The partner's vision for the company can be summarized in the official tagline for VIP: expect more, get more. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Casey.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, so is it kind of what you expected, not what you expected?
First time.
I know y'all kind of just said when we talked about this idea originally that we were just going to, they're like, go, have fun. And I thought that, since you guys have been bringing so much value to our audience every single week, I thought that it was about time for you to come and share your story and why you're wanting to give back so much value. So, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for the opportunity to share the story.
So, when you set out to create VIP, what did you want to do differently from the other search agencies?
Well, Casey, that's a great question. Eric?
Yeah, when we sat down and talked...
And this is our culture, that's why we have so much fun.
Honestly, when we sat down and talked about our vision for the new business model, we really thought the best way to distinguish ourselves was, to really focus at a higher level and act as trusted advisors and partners with our clients and help them fill those decision-making roles. And that really helps us in all three of the verticals. And we really get to have that true partnership relationship versus just a transactional relationship.
Well, I know that one of the things when I joined VIP that kind of surprised me was the strength of your relationships at those higher levels. So that makes a lot of sense that you do it that way.
Yeah, and as Eric mentioned, we started it also because we wanted to create several different business line verticals in our organization that would allow us to provide a holistic approach, a one-stop shop to our customers. And then we really wanted to be more customer service focused, relationship based, and instead of just focusing on the transactions.
Absolutely. Did you have anything to add on that, Jess? You good for that? Just great question.
That was a good question.
All right, guys. How has VIP evolved over the years, and what is different from when you started?
So, another good question. As you said in your intro, we were a bunch of perm guys that started out doing the direct hire. As we continued to grow, we added the contract to hire. And then as we were missing out on business, we added the management consulting, management project piece. And it allows us to be a one-stop shop for our clients and help them for really any need. And they piggyback off one another.
And I wanted to add just real quick, I think it's so critical and such a testimony to your business prowess, all three of you, that each step of the way, when you started the perm, it was you three. But when you started the contract to hire, you brought somebody in to help build that segment of the business, Greg Maldonado, who's done a fantastic job and was recently named associate partner.
He's amazing.
He's absolutely amazing, so shout out to Greg. And then you brought in Matt Edwards to drive the solution side. Yeah. So I think that's really good that you guys noticed that.
Well, like Jess said, we all grew up in the direct hire piece, and we feel like we knew that very well. And while we had those other pieces as part of our previous businesses, there was other people that were more experts in those fields. And so in order to be the best in those areas, we went out and found people that had that type of experience more than we did.
One of the greatest pieces of advice that I think I ever got was you always hire people smarter than you.
And that
It's not tough for us.
and it's very true. It's
Yes.
a very true statement. And like I say, and it's not tough for us.
Well, and really what drove us to this business model, if you place a controller or a CFO or a director of internal audit, a lot of times they'll call you if they know if they know that you provide contract services. But the piece that we were really missing out was the management consulting piece. When a client doesn't have the bandwidth to manage an engagement and a project, we weren't able to provide that with just our contract services. So we sought out Matt, and he's phenomenal. And he's really able to manage those engagements and those projects that we weren't able to do prior to adding that vertical.
Well, and he's also built out that team as well, correct?
For sure. Now we can, anything finance related, internal controls, general accounting, tuck-in work, acquisition work. We can do it all.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So several of the VIP team members, including a couple of you, have experience in accounting or finance backgrounds. How would you say that helps benefit our recruiting process and add value for clients?
Well, I think it definitely gives a recruiter a leg up on the competition. When they're working with a candidate or a job order, they fully understand what the candidate's background is, or they fully understand what the client's looking for in a particular job order. And it's just like any other sales position. When a salesperson understands their product inside and out, they're going to be much better at what they're selling. Our team members that have this type of experience have a far less learner curve than people that coming in that don't. Not to say that you can't be successful without that background, because Jess came into it and he didn't have any type of accounting background, and he was in our previous firm. He was one of the top producers of the firm and continued to be in our firm. So, not to say that you can't. But Jess would be the first to tell you that he's had to work harder than the people that probably come in with the accounting and finance background to be as successful as he's been.
For sure. I tell you that if you have that background, it lends credibility right away to your clients. Being in the business for over 20 years myself, and been successful for much of it, I wouldn't be successful if I wasn't surrounded by great people that have accounting and finance experience. I'm embarrassed to say that when I started, I didn't know the difference between public accounting and a publicly traded firm. Okay,
That's so normal.
I had no idea, and so the people that are coming out of public accounting, obviously they have that understanding. Whereas the folks maybe coming out of school or coming out of, not coming out of accounting, finance, recruiting, they might not have that experience or understanding.
And I have to remember as I'm training new people that don't have that experience, like when I say go find me a Big Four public combo and their eyes just glass over, and so I'm like, they don't even know what Big Four is. So you have to really take it back and put the training wheels back on and explain it from the ground up. And, something else that I think is really interesting that I think I shared with you guys is that, I was in accounting for 20 years. That's a long time. And
That's a long time.
Okay, I think he's saying I'm old. But what my point is, I've learned more in the 7 years that I've been doing recruiting about accounting and finance than I ever did do in accounting, because I was always so niche when I was in one industry, and most of it was nonprofit or governmental. And so when I switched to recruiting for accounting, it was probably just as tough as if I didn't have any experience.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like I know much more about how it all flows together than when I did, than when I was in accounting, because I was specific to sales tax audit. And
that's a whole different creature.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just like when you talk about the SEC versus the, corporate accounting and all this internal reporting, external reporting. There's so many different facets of accounting that a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what do you look for when recruiting for the internal VIP team? What makes a strong recruiter, and how do you pull that out of someone in an interview if they're going to be a strong recruiter?
Yeah. finding good people in this business is really tough. And for us, culture fit is very, very important. So that's the first thing that I would say that I look for is just, I'm very transparent about our culture to make sure that these people will fit in. But then I think the next thing that I personally look for is just, I need to know that that person's competitive. So I ask questions about what drives them, what are they motivated by? Is it money? Are they looking for quality of life? Do they just want a relaxing job with a good, 8 to 5, great culture fit? The competitive, money-driven person typically does pretty well in this business.
Yeah, and the second thing is we look for that entrepreneurial mindset, which is difficult to pull out in an interview, but you're asking questions about the impact that they've had on their current organizations and how they impact that and whose idea was that, and so trying to figure out that entrepreneurial mindset because the people in our organization, almost every position in our organization, they're like running a business within their own business, and they're branding themselves within side of VIP. So it's very important that they have an entrepreneurial mindset and be very self-motivated. And the other thing is, that willingness to foster a long-term relationship, versus just trying to close their first deal. And so, being in it for the long term. And those things are really difficult to pull out in a first interview.
And I would say trying to find out what their work ethic is like, find out if they're disciplined, make sure they've got really strong communication skills, and try and figure out if they've got the ability to gain your trust, right? If you can't gain someone's trust quickly, you're going to have a hard time in this
That's
business.
so important.
Yeah,
So important.
absolutely.
So a couple of things that I've added to the interview process since I've been with VIP is, one, we've chosen an assessment, and we actually have the guy that developed the assessment coming on the podcast to talk about it and why it's so effective for the next episode. So it's perfect lead-in for that. But the assessment tells us whether that person's competitive. It's not going to tell us whether they're disciplined or not, but you can kind of tell by how some of the characteristics line up if they're going to be prone to be disciplined, like if they're very highly active, if they're task-oriented. One thing I have learned is that if I have somebody that's high people instead of task, and they're very high on the social with their internal wiring, they're probably going to come to work and play all day. So that's one thing I look for sure. And then the other thing that I've added that I think has worked much better, and I haven't done it 100% of the time, but I'm really trying to get better about it, is the culture lunch before we hire. Because that's when people really let down their hair and they show up as who they really are, and that's when you're going to learn the most about them. And that's when the team usually will say, at first they're like, yeah, I'm kind of on the fence, and then we'll go to the culture lunch, they're like, oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
So
It's great to get the feedback after that lunch.
Oh, yeah, yeah, for sure it is. So here's something interesting. So I've been with VIP almost 2 years. Can you guys believe it?
Yep, it's gone by quickly.
Yeah.
The older you get, the more time flies.
I was sitting there
True
the other
story.
day and I was thinking, oh, I have an anniversary coming up, and it's like 1 year, and I'm like, oh no, it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
So
It's flown by.
I mean, I can't believe we've been 11 years.
I know.
It's hard to believe.
That's pretty impressive. And you got past that statistic because startups usually fail in the first 10 years, right?
Yep.
So that's good. We're going to make it, guys. I have faith. So when you interviewed me, one of the things that really impressed me and encouraged me to make the tough decision to make a move was when I came in, you didn't say, this is what I want you to do. This is why we're talking to you. You asked me, what do I want to do? And you gave me the opportunity to lay out my dream job. And then you said, okay, come do it over here. And I'm like, really? Seriously? And y'all were serious. And so now I'm here today, and I tell people all the time, I don't work a day in my life because I love what I do. I love it so much. So why did you choose to approach the interview in that way?
Well, it was rocket science. I mean, it's been out there for years that people that enjoy what they do are more successful in their jobs. And so it was important for us to understand exactly what you wanted to do and how you wanted to do it, because if we felt like we provided you that platform, that you were going to be more successful, you were going to enjoy coming to work every day. And so that was really important to us. And so it's a little bit of trial and error, but over the years we found that asking people what they truly passionate about, what they truly love to do, they become more successful.
Yeah, I'll just echo what Mike said. Trial and error. Yeah, when we started VIP, we were really excited about the opportunity to work on the business versus in the business recruiting and doing the sales every day. And that's difficult until you find some people underneath you to replace, a team that's generating revenue. But we found out through the trial and error hiring and people not working out that you can't approach everybody the same way. It's a lot like management. Mm-hmm. You have to manage people differently. Well, the same applies to the hiring process. You can hire great people. They're not all going to be your top sales people, but they're great culture fits and they're productive and add value in the office. You just have to treat everybody differently and ask them what's important to them. And that's the approach we take, because it's important to know what you want to do. That's why we have this podcast, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and I will tell you, as I think in all the years, like, I've been getting a little bit more aggressive with my asks with Mike. And I think one time he said, no. And I was like, really? You finally told me no? But it's okay, because, I mean, I know that I can come to him with ideas and he'll talk through them I get real excited and I don't think it through. And I go sit down, I talk to Mike, and he's like, well, now let's talk about this. And I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. But it's been very helpful to me in my personal growth to be able to have that kind of mentor relationship where, you encourage me to do the things that are important, but then you're like, maybe you need to take a step back and maybe not do that quite that way, But that's also a trust issue, right?
It is, and those little personality tests that you believe so much in will tell you that I'm a why guy. I'm going to ask why. Why do you want to do this? What does it mean? How do you get to it? So, I'm not one to just make a decision off the cuff. So
yeah, see, I'm the complete opposite of you.
Some of those personality tests are great. Some of them not so much, but that's what it is. I'm a why guy.
Awesome. Anything to add to that, guys? No? Well, I do truly appreciate all of y'all, and I know that, again, kind of going back to that open door policy, I know that, like, all day long, your doors are open, and anybody can just walk in there with an issue or a problem or a celebration, something they want to celebrate. So thank you for doing that.
You bet.
For real. And now I'm just going to shamelessly throw this out there. If you want to come work for VIP, hit us up at wearevip.com, because it's a great place to work.
Please do.
So you all have more than 60 years of combined experience in recruiting. What single interview question do you think helps you best understand if a candidate is the right fit for a position, whether externally or internally?
So the most important question I ask is finding out what motivates them, right? If they're an internal candidate, I want to make sure they're, like Eric had said earlier, competitive and that they're motivated by money. Mm-hmm. If they are motivated because they like to help people in a feel-good story, that's part of it, but you have to be motivated by money. Now, on the flip side, if you're a candidate that we're looking to place at one of our clients, if your motivation is money, well, then they need to go back to their employer and talk to their employer and discuss the compensation. Whereas if, they're not happy for one reason or another, they want to get closer to home, their job is going to be outsourced, whatever it might be, it helps us better understand what they're looking for, why they're looking for, and helps us put them in the right place.
Absolutely.
Me going back to a why guy, I like to ask them, why are you sitting in front of me? How did you get here today? And that gives us more information on what they're, how ambitious they are, what they're looking for in their career, what their career success looks like. And so I go back to asking questions about why and trying to understand, make sure that their whys are in line with our organization.
So one question that I really like to ask when I'm interviewing candidates, because money, of course, it's a driver for us all, right? Location is a driver, at least it is for me, because y'all know I'm a commute diva. I won't live more than 5 minutes from work. But I always like to ask the question, besides money, besides location, what's going to make you happy to get up and go to work tomorrow?
Again, it's about motivation. It's understanding that motivation, so that if you can understand those motivations, and then you've got what's important to your client and what they're looking for. It's all part of the making the best match possible. It's all part of the equation.
I think this next question is probably one of my favorite questions, and I can't wait to hear what you guys are going to say about this. But what is your favorite? What aspect of the VIP culture are you most proud of that you've created?
Well, a little bit on what you said earlier. One, I think we've created a fun work environment that everybody enjoys working in. But I think that we're all committed to growing the business, and we're all willing to hear everybody's ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mike, Jess, and I probably wouldn't be sitting in this podcast if you didn't have a love for this and come up with some great ideas. And I'm really glad you did. It's been been great, and it's been part of our growth. And so that's the part that I'm most excited about and proud of. It's just that we listen to everybody's ideas because we certainly know that we don't know it all.
Yeah, and I'm just going to echo what you said earlier and what Eric just said. Earlier you mentioned open door policy. Like I say, we all three have an open door policy. Our doors are rarely shut, and so we're very open to talking to everyone and helping everyone as much as we can. And we're all, from a leadership perspective, we're all very involved in the business in a day-to-day basis. Eric and Jess still, run a full desk and have clients while they work on the business as well as in the business. And so I think that's probably sets us apart from our competition, and it's different from our competition is that we stay involved daily. And like I said, we don't assume we know everything. We're all open to new ideas, and and like I said, Eric mentioned we wouldn't be here today without this. This would not have been an idea that one of the three of us had.
And you hear candidates and internal employees think that the grass may be greener on the other side, right? And over the years, we've had a handful of employees that have left, and then after a couple of months, maybe a couple of weeks, they come back and they say, "Hey guys, would you take me back?" Most of the time we do with open arms, right?
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say that we're an entrepreneurial, fun place that is just different from the rest.
Very different.
Yeah.
Very different. And I can say this, not that there's anything wrong with the company that I came from, but probably the first few months, it was a little bit of a culture shock for me because I was used to people saying, you're in your desk at 8:30, you're on the phone at 9 to 11:30, here's your report, here's what you did. It was very structured.
Well, that's part of the reason when we're interviewing, making sure that you have to be disciplined and have the work ethic, because we are not going to be over your shoulder. Like, if you are not self-motivated, you're not going to be successful, period.
And I see that every day. Another thing that I've truly, truly value about our culture is that there's not a lot of red tape. We're very nimble. When there's something that needs to be done, it can happen very quickly. And so that's something that I appreciate because it just makes it move so much faster.
Yeah, it's critical for a growing company.
Mm-hmm.
And another new idea that we had this year was Eric had a lot to do with was adding a digital marketing person, Marissa, who's behind the scenes over there that you can't see, but she's a lot of what makes this happen today too. So.
We talk about her a lot.
Fantastic.
She gets lots of props.
Best addition
For sure.
yet.
For sure. Yeah, and not just with the podcast. She does
everything.
She can do anything. She's like Superwoman. So
It's been great.
what has been the biggest challenge in your recruiting career, and how did you overcome it?
So I'll start with that one. I'm going to talk about a few things, okay?
Okay.
The first is a long time ago overcoming the fact I don't have accounting or finance experience. So learning accounting and finance, understanding what a staff accountant, staff analyst did, that was a big learning curve, right? And was able to be successful. But then taking it, a couple steps forward to where we are today, I think our biggest hurdle is finding, recruiting talent internally. Like, it's ironic that we're a recruiting firm. Firms are paying us big bucks to find them great talent, and we have a harder time finding talent for us than we do for our clients. And so, my goal is to be able to hire newer recruiters so we can spend more time working on the business versus having to work in the business, and be able to give more of our clients to those newer recruiters.
Yeah, and just to echo, we do have a more trouble hiring for ourselves than we do recruiting for our clients. But a lot of that has to do with it. We're also very protective of our culture, and so
Yes.
we hire very selectively. Our industry has a very high turnover rate, and we try not to imitate. We try to create our own path and not have that high turnover rate. It's in me personally, overcoming challenges. I was in accounting for 6 years, or 6 years in industry, 2 years in public. And so when I came into this business, I was an accountant. I had an accountant mindset. And so it was difficult for me to sell. It was difficult for me to pick up the phone and ask somebody to pay me a fee for finding them somebody. And so at the time, we had a girl in our office, a lady in our office, that was really, really successful at her job. And I just attached myself to her hip and watched what she did every day, recruited for her job orders and listened to her, and learned to be able to market. But it was a learning curve for me.
That was smart.
Yeah.
Good strategy.
Yeah, it worked out well. Don't do as much of it today as these guys do, but it worked out well.
You got to herd all the cats.
You still do a lot of networking,
Yeah.
FEI.
Yeah. So, okay. So this is another favorite question of mine because I've seen the growth. I was lucky enough to come in right after y'all started your solutions, the program management, and so I've seen the growth over the last 2 years. What do you see for VIP in the next 5 years? Where do you see us going?
Well, from my perspective, I mean, we're still in our infancy stages with our new business model, with adding management consulting. So I think our focus will still be, over the next 5 years, making a lot of introductions to our existing clients on our new verticals and how we can help them and partner with them and be that trusted advisor. So I will spend a lot of time penetrating the DFW market with the new vertical.
Yeah, as Eric mentioned, while VIP itself is in our 11th year, and you mentioned earlier, our new business model is only a couple of years old. But in those couple of years, we've been able, with the addition of the project management piece, we've been able to double the size of our company in revenue and double the size of our company in the number of employees that we have. And so we're looking forward to continuing to expand VIP, and our focus for the next couple of years is going to be in the DFW market. And then from there, perfect this business model and look to take it to some other markets as well.
I cannot wait for that.
Exciting.
We're kind of almost set up for that already because we've got an employee that's working remote due to a spouse being transferred, and we just couldn't give him up. So
Yeah, he's great.
And luckily, he's in a hot job market.
Yes,
so,
yes.
It can happen quickly.
He's already got his first target client. Did I tell you that?
No, you did not.
Do you know who lives there?
No, who?
Okay, I'm speaking this out. Jeffrey Gittimer.
Oh,
That's where
right.
he's
nice.
based.
Okay.
And I said, Jason, go get him. Go get Jeffrey and Jen. That would be awesome. So, okay, you guys do not get to escape our VIP questions. So, are you ready?
Sure.
Fire away.
Okay, Eric, I'm going to give you the first one. If you were chosen to be one of the first colonists on Mars, what 3 things or people would you take with you? Only 3.
Well, fortunately, this question's pretty simple for me because I have 3 kids. And if I was going to be colonized on Mars, they're probably the only 3 that could tolerate me, so I'd take my 3 kids.
Aww.
Yeah.
You wouldn't try to get away from them?
No.
Okay. All right, Jess, what is one thing you do to start your day that sets you up for success?
So I come in every day knowing I'm going to win.
Mindset.
It's a mindset. We get told no, and we hear negative feedback a lot of days, sometimes multiple times a day. And you have to be able to push through it. So, I go in with a positive mindset, then I'm going to win.
That is so huge.
Good answer.
Yeah.
That's tough to do every day.
It's true. I mean, we get jaded because a lot of people, may lie to us or
No.
and
People lie to us?
CFOs and controllers, they may get annoyed by our phone calls, believe it or
Right.
not. But yeah, you just got to get past it.
Pick up the phone.
Pick up the phone and make the next call.
Yeah.
People don't realize that about our business. It's a really short sales cycle, especially on the perm side. So you have to reinvent yourself and wake up every day and start over. There is no recurring revenue for you.
Nope. There absolutely is not. All right, Mike.
Good answer, because I had to get out of bed.
Okay.
That's an age thing.
Yeah.
So if your life's work was being summarized in a news article, what would the headline be?
I don't know. This was a tough one, but I thought about it a little bit, and this headline I think could be any of the three of us, but I think it would be has experienced success but not yet done.
Ooh,
Love that.
I do
that
too.
is really good. I may steal that.
Yep. So it's,
That
like I
may be
said,
my new quote on my signature.
we've all worked together for a number of years, 20 plus, and so we've all experienced some good success. But like I said, we're not yet done.
Yeah, we're definitely not done.
And I tell you, I feel lucky and blessed to have these guys as my business partners. We all bring something different to the table, and we've got something really special here.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's a good partnership for sure.
Absolutely. So, well, I just have one last thing to say to you before we wrap up. First of all, you want to tell people where they can find us?
Well, you can find us at www.wearevip.com. You can find us on this podcast once a week at this time on Wednesdays. It's linked. We have a LinkedIn page. We have a Facebook page, and our address is 14901 Quorum Drive, Suite 540, Dallas, Texas 75254. Show
Come see
up.
us.
Drop on by.
Come see us. We have a snack bar. It's a lot of fun. So, all right, guys. Well, I'm going to wrap this up, but I just have one more thing to say to y'all. You are VIPs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
for doing this,
Casey.
Casey.
And that's a wrap for today. Join us next week here on the We Are VIP podcast. We'd love to know how we can help you be a VIP. To find out more, log on to wearevip.com.